I'm Shri for Energy. I'm a spoken word poet and performance poet, and I do a lot of youth and community work. I grew up in a Muslim community. I'm also part of a poetry collective called the Universe, and we're a group of South Asian women who are all writers, playwrights and poets. I think for me, the most things that impacted me were just the reality of I think a lot of realities growing up, but at the same time, I think more recently, so about 8 years ago, I moved to London for university, and that kind of reopened up a lot for me, because I feel like I was away from the community that I grew up in, and I was having to reshape and really find myself and find my own spaces of grounding and recreate my own new community. So what does community mean to you now? Close to my face as such. I had to really check myself, what I'm comfortable with, who I am, what does that really mean conventionally as well, being brought up in a community where there's so many things that you grew up to know, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, but then if you find yourself engaging in them, or you're just made to challenge yourself, or you're made to reflect on who you are as a person, and I feel like that can create a lot of conflict within yourself that can affect your mental health. Because at the same time, there's been times when I'm do I really share this? Should I share what I do or what I write about, or should I talk about mental health? Do I have to make it so into a riddle through poetry, or do I just say reality of how times are when they're really hard? I've not had mental health diagnosis as such, but I do have therapy, which is brilliant. I don't I wouldn't really tell people to continue to attach a taboo to the reality of therapy as well. I feel like therapy is a great place for you to go to reflect on yourself. So having a therapist you engage with once a week, you talk to, you get to reflect on the past week, what you liked or what you didn't like about how you might have acted in a situation, and then you just evolve, so you're moving forward from a place of reflection. Because sometimes people are busy, they don't really get that time, or they feel like they're burdening people by telling them their problems. So I feel learning to be honest with yourself and other people, not necessarily people all the time, but I feel being allowed to be in a safe space, I feel that's really important. So in my recent journey, having therapy, the therapy came through, I live close to Grenfell Tower, so my therapy, I was referred after seeing the fire, so I needed therapy. But at the same time, I feel this opened up, the doors of therapy opened up a lot for me, because then I was starting to take more responsibility for myself, or how I look after my mental health. Therapy and martial arts have really helped me just become more present with myself. So I feel before I was in a lot of conflict with myself, because I was living a lot in my head. This really helped me to just become more present. I think for me, the most important things is being true to yourself, and also happiness, not in a cliche kind of way, but being able to be more responsible for your own happiness in certain light. So, are we gonna allow the fact that we live in London and it's grey outside, are we gonna allow that to impact us every day? Or are we gonna learn different ways of keeping your vibration up? So I feel these sort of things, because they have an impact on everything. They have an impact on how grateful you are for certain experiences, or whether you've got money or you don't have money, how you're going to respond to it, how you're going to react to it, or how you're going to react to struggle, or how you're going to react when you're doing great, And I think it's all a state of mind, because if you're not in a place of gratitude, you're just not, you might not, or you might not have the discipline to be appreciative when good things good things are happening for you that you've been waiting for, you wanted them to happen. I feel like when it comes to conformity or certain expectations that are laid on us as people, I feel, again, that's why I think it's so important to know yourself, because then you know what is you and what is like following the crowd as such. So I feel like if you're more comfortable within yourself, then certain ways you're not going to allow them to restrict you, or you're not going to allow them to have such precedence in your life. So I feel like even just certain things, I grew up in a certain way, I might not agree with it all anymore, but it's like, no, but I like doing this, and I'm happy with it, so that's fine, that's me. So why do I need to do what you're doing, or why do I need to do what's expected of me as such? So I feel like, again, it comes back to the reality of like being true to yourself, you know, and then you don't allow certain pressures to come. Martial arts is really a great tool of allowing your body to, like, allow and release through your physical body. So I feel like alongside writing poetry and expressing myself through words, I feel like sometimes you have to have you have to kind of create a discipline for yourself. So for me, martial arts really is about discipline, and also like using different parts of your mind, having to remember certain combinations, or how you use your limbs as well. So with Muay Thai, like the whole science of 8 limbs, so it's really like, you know, using parts of your brain that you might not normally use as well. And at the same time, alongside martial arts, I was really inspired and encouraged to by martial arts, and by knowing that when I do things that are strenuous, my mind is more present. So by doing so, I also went to the Amazon rainforest. So I was in the jungle in Venezuela earlier this year for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to do this because I felt like I needed time away from the area, but I also felt like I needed to have almost like that discipline. I needed more mental discipline, as well as it being very strenuous, like physically. It really disciplined my mind, because I was made to, you know, you have to be present in the jungle. Like you had to, like you have to focus. You have to focus, or else you might walk into like an ant hole or something, you know. And even just gaining more physical strength, which I recognised through the Muay Thai, which allowed me to then go on to do something else that was like really good for my mental health. I want to take my poetry a lot more serious. I want to go into theatre, I want to be an actor. So we'll see whether I go into like film or anything as such, but at the moment I've done a lot of like youth and community work. That will always be a thing for me, like what you do and how it impacts other people in a positive light. So I feel like at the moment it's just allowing my creativity to flourish without putting myself into any box as such. Like I just want to grow as a creative. And also with the martial arts, like I might want to take that a little bit more serious as well, or maybe not, I'm not sure, but just becoming a more rounded person.